Remember the days when traveling was fun? Before you could only carry 3 ounces of liquid in your carry-on? Before you had to take your shoes off and put them in that gray plastic bin? Before you had to hold your arms up in the diamond shape to be scanned and pray that you didn't also have to be felt up by TSA agents? When I graduated from graduate school, I was really into flying because I was finally making money and I had the company credit card. I volunteered for every necessary business trip I could. Does anybody want to staff a trade show in Las Vegas? I do. Angie, we need somebody to go talk to the client in Los Angeles. Okay, I'll go. And how about a training session in the new software upgrade in Phoenix? Yes, just tell me when. The problem was that I was based in upstate New York. And the good news is that I had to connect through Chicago's O'Hare Airport because that's my hometown. And pre-9/11, you can actually leave the airport in between layovers. And so I would leave, and my mother would drive up from the South Side in her home and pick me up, and we'd go out to breakfast for pancakes. So I'm on my favorite flight one time, the red-eye from LA that leaves at 11:30 and gets into Chicago at 6 a.m. And I'm curled up under the blanket with my book, just chilling with the overhead light. And the seatbelt light goes on, and the pilot comes on and says, "We expect turbulence." And I'm like, no big deal, I've taken this flight before. But you know how you can smell somebody else's fear? And it's not Chanel? That's what I was sensing from the woman next to me. And I look over, and she's a white girl, and she has a nice red ponytail, and she has freckles sprinkled all over her nose. And the reason why I could tell is because her face was so pale with fear. And so I look over to her and I said, "Are you okay?" And she says, "We're all gonna die, aren't we?" And I'm like, "No, we're not gonna die." And she looks back at me and she's like, "How do you know?" I said, "Because when we land safely, I'm meeting my mother for pancakes." And she laughed too, and it gave me that warm feeling like when you see a baby crying and so you make funny faces till it stops. So I go back to my book, and the plane bounces again. And now she's gripping the armrests really, really tight and doing those deep breathing exercises. So I put my hand over hers on the armrest, and I say, "What's your name?" And she says, "Amanda." And I say, "Oh, Mandy." And she says, "It's Amanda." I'm like, "Okay, Amanda, where are you from?" "I'm from Appleton." "Where is that?" She says, "It's in Wisconsin." I said, "I know it's in Wisconsin, but is that near Milwaukee or Madison?" And she says, "It's up by Green Bay." And I said, "Oh, dear." And she's like, "What?" And I said, "I'm a Bears fan." And again, I got that laugh, like the baby stopped crying. And I'm like, this really feels good. I go back to my book, though, but this time when the plane hits turbulence, it's so bad I feel it. And so what happens, instead of laying my hand on hers on the armrest, I actually intertwine my fingers with hers. And I just continue to ask her inane questions to keep her talking. And while she's doing that, I'm looking at our hands intertwined like a Benetton commercial for black and white unity and understanding. And I realized that I have never held hands with a white person before. I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and so even though my school was not segregated, the nuns had us line up on opposite sides of the wall, and we were not allowed to touch. And even though the Loving decision made interracial marriage legal across all 50 of our states, laws may change, but customs do not. So I never had a white boyfriend walk me from the library to the dining hall in college. I wonder if the same happened with Amanda. But I didn't ask her. Instead, I kept on the inane conversation until we landed safely. And when we did, Amanda grabbed her carry-on from underneath the seat in front of her and ran down the aisle without even saying goodbye. I took my time getting my carry-on out of the overhead compartment, and I walked down the aisle and then to the jetaway, and when I got out into the waiting area, there was Amanda, her hand outstretched. And so I walked up to her and I shook it. And she said, thank you. And I said, go Bears. And she said, always a cheesehead. And we went our separate ways. I don't know where Amanda went. I never saw her again. I went to go get a stack of pancakes. Thank you.